My life has been engaged as a choreographer, something I wanted to do from the very, very start. I've had this whirlwind of a life, of a career. I created a dance group called Hot Gossip. We had sets built for us, costumes designed for us. Nick Hytner would like to meet you. He's doing a play with music. Oh. I was so nervous about actually meeting with him. Even now, I will get goosebumps at that silent moment. Then David just lifted his, you can't hear a pin drop. People can hardly breathe. And as he finishes, and then the roar.
Welcome to the Bridge Theatre podcast, where we meet the people who make the magic happen. On stage, backstage, and everywhere in between. We'll find out what their first passion with theatre was, the moments that made them, and even what their fantasy production would be if they could create one themselves. I'm Pauline Fallowell, your host, so get comfy and we'll get started.
This week we're talking to Dame Arlene Phillips, a legend in choreography across film, stage and television. She's been instrumental here at the Bridge of three of our biggest productions, Alleluia, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and The Amazing Guys and Dolls. I'm really looking forward to talking to her today. Let's get started. Well, Arlene, thank you so much for coming in and talking to me today. I'm so excited to have this chat.
Me too.
Thank you.
I'm ready for it.
I mean, I feel like you don't need an introduction, but maybe you want to introduce yourself in your own words.
Yes.
Who are you? What do you do? And what have you done at the Bridge?
Yeah. I'm Arlene Phillips. I'm a mother.
Oh, I love that's your first thing. That's my first thing as well.
Yeah. But my life has been engaged as a choreographer, something I wanted to do from the very, very start. And the very fact that I've choreographed here in the Bridge Theatre for 3 different productions, and all of them, each of them, a highlight of my life.
And it's been a dream to have you here, and that wasn't even like a pun intended there. But thank you for doing that and being here. So rewinding way back to the beginning. So as you say, you're a choreographer, which is what you always wanted to do.
Yes.
But where did that come from? Where was that first moment that went, oh?
When we very small, I'm one of 3 children, and both my parents loved the ballet passionately.
Wow.
We were extremely poor and therefore couldn't really afford to go to the ballet. But one day my dad heard that the Russian Ballet were coming to the Free Trade Hall in Manchester, where we live, and he was determined that we 3 little children, 5, 7 and 9, were going to go and see the Russian Ballet. Well, first of all, I hadn't seen any ballet, and the Free Trade Hall, when we got there, all around, there were people screaming, "Go home, Soviets." It was just like having to get through a wall of people, and I was like hugging close to my mum and my dad, insisting that we went. We were on the very back row of the Free Trade Hall, packed, and on came these beautiful Russian dancers. We even saw Galina Ulanova, one of the most famous of all dancers, dancing the Dying Swan. It was a revelation. And I knew by the time I walked out of the Free Trade Hall, that is all I wanted to do.
Wow.
That was my beginning.
Where did the love for ballet of your parents come from?
Do you know, I don't know, because my mum came from a family actually of 11. And they, again, were kind of living on the edge. Their parents were immigrants to this country. And my dad actually was kind of thrown out by his stepmother because his mother died when he was 2. His father, they got married again, and the wife hated him. So when he was 12, she assigned him to a barber, and he had to live on the floor of the barber shop. So where did their love come from? How did they find out? I never know. My mum died when I was 15. So I never really engaged in ballet conversations other than this was what I wanted to do, mummy, and this is what I have to do. And so it's this sort of mystery. Where did my passion grow? It was that night, that moment.
Amazing.
And that really was a guide to what my life is going to be.
And how did they then allow you to take lessons? Did you just pester until you could? Was there...
I pestered until I could, and I pestered until eventually my uncle paid for my lessons. And my parents did not have enough money. And I know there is a famous story that I've told, and everyone's fascinated. I'll tell you very briefly. When I got to go to my first dance class, of course I wanted ballet shoes. And by that time I was 8 and I was reading books, all ballet books. And all ballet dancers wore pink ballet shoes. So I went for my pink ballet shoes to the one shop in Manchester on Stretford Road, was piled high with ballet shoes, all pink. Tried some on, they fit me, I pointed my toes, I was over the moon. But when it came to paying, Mum opened her purse and there wasn't enough money. And there was no way we could afford the pink ballet shoes. And as we were about to go, he said, well, I've got some green ballet shoes in the corner. And I looked at them. They were so vivid. They could have come from the Emerald City. They were so bright. And I didn't really want them, but they fit. And it was the only way. They were half price that I could get my ballet shoes. And when I went into my very first class, every little girl was in pink. And every little girl sort of looked at my ballet shoes like this. I mean, they weren't even pale pink or there's no disguising them. You know, they were electric. And I wanted to go out and run out of the door. I felt so wrong, but I stayed. I knew if I didn't stay, that would be it. That would be over. So I worked my green ballet shoes. And
it probably made you, didn't you, in that way of like, you've always now had that fight to be like...
Always, I was going to make sure that if a door opened, I was going to walk right through it with almost not even looking. And my whole life has been searching for open doors to get me to another step, another step, another step. And so I lived my life through ballet, planning to go to a dance school in London when I was 15. And that's when my mother passed away. My sister was only 12. There was no way I could leave home. So I continued studying at the ballet school in London. And eventually the teacher that ran the school, Mura Tweedy, asked me if I would become a teacher there. So after 4 years, I started to teach there, was sent to London, went into what was then called the Dance Centre in Floral Street to open classes where you put your money on the table, and found a teacher called Molly Malloy who did American jazz, but in a lyrical style. She used to be with ABT. So she was a classical dancer, modern dancer, and a great artist. And she was my mentor. And I stayed in London, never went home. Because the only way I could stay was by not going back, by not going home. And eventually I taught classes in London. That was my career.
And probably inspired a lot of other people through there, because there's something amazing about passing that on to people, isn't it?
My gosh. I'm passionate about it, and finding people who are different and unique, and trying eventually to create my own style of dance, not the happy-go-lucky 2D smiles. From the soul, from the way dancers dance, from the way dancers think, feel, be. And I created a dance group called Hot Gossip just because I wanted the live performances and the buzz of what was happening in the 70s, in the streets, disco, whatever it was. Dance was different to the smiles and sweetness of dance on television. So I created this dance group, and everyone thinks it was overnight. It wasn't. It took 3 years of me touting my dance group around for someone to recognize this was different. And it broke kind of records in press, in TV. It was a life-changing moment when the group Hot Gossip became the talk of the town.
And it is that thing, dance doesn't tend to be very mainstream. Like music gets quite mainstream, films, but dance doesn't necessarily have the same outlets that I think other things do. There's obviously been some moments where it does, but yeah, that's one of those moments that happened. I think it's such a celebration of what you achieved, but also the fact that dance is so universal and so reflective, as you say, of times, of music, of passion, of how you're feeling.
Yeah. And obviously we broke records on television, but the truth is they were and became a famous dance group. But the truth is dancers' names, dance companies, as big as they get, is not like the millions of followers that they actually kind of deserve and to be elevated to where musicians or music artists are,
exactly.
or film stars are. They are so below the line when it comes to dance.
I often love watching the backing dancers for any pop star when you see a concert. The backing dancers, I am in awe of.
Yes.
I'm like, why don't I know who you are? Why don't I know what you're like?
Yes.
Who are you? Where's your credit?
Exactly. Where's your credit?
I mean, it is a mad old thing, and maybe it will get its time at some point.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful skill.
Yeah.
I mean, now taking all of this inspiration, I mean, you've done so much. So my next question, which is probably a mad question, but is there anything you haven't done, or is there anything you'd like to do again? Do you have a fantasy theatre experience?
Oh my God. I have done so much in my life, so many big musicals, films, music videos, television. I've had this whirlwind of a life, of a career. And I think as I get older and older, do I want to preserve it or do I want to let it go? Is it dated or does it have a second life? So I think about it. I think about my own life. I think about Hot Gossip, the impact they made. The music they use, is it a musical?
Yeah.
Is it a TV series? I do think of how it would go forward and who would play me. I mean, my favorite sort of idea ever, just because I love her and because I've worked with her and I know she can dance, is Tamsin Outhwaite. I always think, because she's kind of got a tough side to her. And I feel as warm and as loving as I can be and as often calming. Often people come to me, I'm not really calm, but often people come to me for advice. So I feel like with Tamsin, she's all of those things. And, is it worthwhile reviving? Is it worth looking at an intensive workshop to idea? Because even in the TV studios, Hot Gossip has something that was really rare and will never be seen again. We had a day to film every 3-minute music videos. We had sets built for us, costumes designed for us. So every week, the impact of that, but not just the fact of the cameraman, but also all the technicians, everybody around would be part of the video. They would be watching, applauding, shouting. In itself, it was immersive. You think of only what went out on television, what went behind the scenes, or the crisis, or somebody forgotten the top of their dress, or there's so much in it that an audience, I feel, could be part of, just like everyone standing around in those huge studios. And we went all over, the largest studio in the world. We had a swimming pool built for one of them. I mean, it's crazy. So for one of the numbers.
But they were all closed. They were all just the videographers. There was no audience when you were doing it.
There's no real audience, except when we did a few things in the street. And then there were audiences all around, just gathering, watching us being filmed. But everything we did was shot by shot.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing was 3 camera. It was always, everything came in the shots. It was very different and very luxurious to today's, like, get it done, 5 minutes. And I'm like, yeah. But they're trying to no, 5 minutes.
Do you think we're actually killing it a little bit by doing everything so quickly? Because like actually having that time must have been quite liberating to be able to like, explore and be creative.
Yeah. Time is the most precious thing you can have, whether it's working on a film, a TV series, or a musical. But time is the least thing we have.
Yeah.
Right now, unless it's a megastar who will lay down the laws, but then we're talking, they have millions of people following. But for the reality, it's this is the rehearsal, this is the tech, get it on stage.
Yeah, I often feel like, in every field, I'm not even just what goes on stage, like sometimes even backstage and doing campaigns or thinking about social media content or all of that, you actually do need space and time, but often it's like, no, this needs to happen now, so we need to, and actually you don't have that time to sort of ruminate it. And it's a different
to nurse something, to actually find what is the missing moment, and how do I find that missing moment? I want to try 3 ways.
Yeah,
you'll be lucky. It's like that.
Yeah, that'll do. Get it out the door. Come on, quick. We're with such a fast energy these days.
Yeah,
I absolutely love the idea of going back and watching. I'd have loved to have been an audience member to Hot Gossip back in the day, but also that fascination of watching the mechanics of it, as you say, like how the shots worked and how you adapted, or and seeing everyone working. I bet costumes would have been fascinating because I'm telling you all but costumes with dancers obviously can impact movement and impact how it looks. And I bet all of that was thought through, and to see that as a person and appreciate that being in the room, it'd be fascinating.
And often the costumes for Hot Gossip were very little. Very small. So you had to make sure that they were perfect and extravagant just on the bits that were there.
And nothing was, because actually, those things happen where things can break. But as you say, like everything is secure, everything's thought through. That's incredible. I think I'd love to do that. You could so make that a whole immersive experience and come into a world of dance. And
I feel it. And also have dancers everywhere. Often we made music videos in very, very, very strange places, and there would be sort of dancers everywhere. Each person felt almost like they had their own dancer.
You could play in. This is the marketing person. You could play into that. Like you could actually film it and then almost release them as little social media clips each night as well.
Yes,
amplify that height
in the moment.
And it could become an event and be quite fun. Oh wow! Is there anyone else you'd love to collaborate on something like that? Tamsin Althwaite would be amazing.
Tamsin would be great. I think the brain force and the dance elements and the connection we made right here was when I asked James Cousin to come and be my associate on the very first Midsummer Night's Dream. And from that moment we've connected and gone on working on Guys and Dolls and another Midsummer Night's Dream, and out of here we've done things together, the Share Show. I would definitely want James around for his brain and
fabulous.
For his danceability and the connection we've made, in that we can tell each other what's right, what's wrong, what we need to do with this, and just we are bound when we work together.
I can see it. And is there, now that we're forming this, is there a space that you'd like to do it in? I'm not leading.
I'm going to be really honest. I don't think it's Nick's thing at all. So it probably wouldn't be here. But if it was, I've got the design in my head, which I know that a designer could create here, because I've seen how well it works with people looking up and down. So I have an idea of how to connect from one middle circle or middle seating to the next. I've got, I like this most amazing idea where, you know, the dance could be done. I once worked in a, well, it was a sort of fire station, but with lots of crisscrossing, and I think I would turn it into that, because the thing about the bridge is wherever you're sitting at the top, like for Midsummer Night's Dream, they have the aerialist, they have every level that you could be on or work from. So honestly, talk about Midsummer Night's Dream, this is a dream of a theatre where one can do so much of the unexpected. And yeah, that's what I love, the unexpected.
And we love doing the unexpected here. I mean, every time people come here, I think they walk in and go, wait, what? This was a different configuration last time. I sat where that thing is. And what?
Yeah. I saw Maggie Smith when the stage went out with her on it, but you had no idea she was moving. None. Just none. 1 minute well, not a minute, because it took probably 60 minutes.
Yeah.
But even now, I get this, I was sort of shaking as I realized that she was coming closer, and I had never noticed it. That was like a miracle.
Yeah.
Honestly, it felt like that thing of when somebody walks on water and you wonder how they walk on water. It was, how did she get from all the way back there? And she's here and I'm here.
And I didn't even notice that she did it.
And I didn't even notice.
Theatre magic. And that's, again, that's where we come back to this, isn't it?
Yes.
The magic that we create.
Yeah.
And I know we've now touched on the bridge, and you've already said and made a moment that you loved here, but bringing it back to this building and why I'm getting to talk to you, this amazing place. What are your highlights here? What are your standout moments from?
I mean, I was invited to do Alleluia, and what happened was, now I've known Nick Hytner from a distance, from way back from, and then from his musicals and everything about him, but I never really knew him.
Yeah.
And I think I rarely may have nodded to him. And even though he worked with many people that I knew, I had no connection to him other than knowing about him. And he grew up in Manchester, and so did I. And we were not too far away from, from where we lived. And then one day I got a call from Ed Watson from the Royal Ballet, who is a friend of Nick's and, also a very close friend of mine. But we never ever connected. And one day I got a call from Ed. He said, Nick Hytner would like to meet you. He's doing a musical, a play with music, actually, called Alleluia, written by Alan Bennett. And we wondering if you would want to work with some over 75-year-olds in Jive, is what was decided, and some other little moments in the show. I tell you, I nearly dropped to the floor. I was like, not Nick Hytner. I was so nervous about actually meeting with him, because I always thought, and here I'm sharing something that I never really talk about. I always thought, because I was so commercial, and Nick was on another planet in sort of his plays and knowledge and everything else, that I was not even a person, that would get this offer. And I jumped at it, absolutely jumped at it, and met Nick, and with the great Alan Bennett, did teach between 75 and 90 these wonderful, wonderful cast members to jive and to do some little musical numbers, and going back to a palais glide, which is such an old-fashioned form of dance that most people don't know it, and finishing up with that. And oh my goodness, it was just a highlight, an absolute highlight. And then that was followed by Nick telling me he wanted to do a production of Guys and Dolls.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the conversation. I have seen Guys and Dolls so many times,
Yeah.
and there are always the most extraordinary ballets within it.
Mm-hmm.
However, I didn't feel that with that kind of musical, a traditional musical, I could better it
Mm.
in any way by doing traditional dance. And I asked Nick if there's a way that the crap shooters and the hot box girls could be a realization. So the crap shooters are crap shooters from the minute you see them. They never turn into dancers, even for the crap shooters ballet, they never turn into dancers. They dance as them. The hot box girls are not, the gorgeous. I've only ever seen in any production beautiful, gorgeous girls, but they look like dancers. I wanted everyone to look like, the hot box is the only place I can work. So yeah, I'll go to the hot box. I'll never get into the Rockettes.
Real people. They were real people.
Yes.
It was,
So within that, and then when we were going to do it, pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And it was postponed. And I remember walking on Hampstead Heath with Nick, just talking about it and talking about ideas. And eventually it came to fruition. And that's where, again, James Cousin and I worked together on that piece. And it was just a joy.
Oh, I mean, and the choreography was beautiful and challenging, because you had, things like Sit Down, where you had such a small space.
Shall I be honest? That idea came from Nick, because I wanted to have the non-dancers, and this is honest truth, the non-dancers on chairs, like the sort of the non-dancers, so we could do one piece of choreography for the non-dancers, and in between on these aisles, we could use the dancers to do different things.
Because there were definitely gradients of dancers and non-dancers in that cast.
Oh my gosh, they were, as there has to be.
Yeah.
And Nick said, no, everyone has to have a chair. Everyone has to do this. So I went back with James and also Dale White, who was the assistant. Yep. And we sort of started working on chairs, up and down on chairs, and what we could do. And suddenly this new way of working this was born. And I remember looking around and saying, right, at the end of section 1, we're all going to pick up our chairs, turn round, put them down, we'll face there. End of the second section, pick up our chairs, turn around, say the end of the third section. And the very end, we're back to where we started. And I remember just us whirling around as we found that kind of almost final moment into it. And Cedric was the only one that was really moving around, other than the patterns we made. And oh my gosh, it's the roar of the noise of the screams. Cedric playing nicely, brilliant. Oh. And every night, it really didn't matter who was playing him. That routine was something the audiences loved, because they all felt they're getting their own little moment with the cast. It was like, they're facing me. Yeah. They're facing me.
Yeah. And that risk of it, just all of them in that stage.
Yes.
And, it was synchronized beautifully, but simple, but effective. And it's I think, so clever, so clever. And isn't that wonderful when someone challenges you that way? You realise that you make the most of it. Oh my God,
he was adamant. And I was like really down at first. And then I realised Nick can help you make a miracle happen. It's just one idea, and he's very straightforward, and he's so knowing of what he wants. And I thought at first my idea was brilliant. And then I realized he'd found the key, and that was Nick. Everyone has to have a chair. Yeah. And that's the clear message, whether they're dancers or not. So, simplified what needed simplifying. And again, it was the unison, or the contrast that mattered.
Oh.
And, I think back, to working on the Midsummer Night's Dream when we first did it, 2019, I think, and then
it was
2025. And I think about talking about history, that I first met David Moorst, when he was, in Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And then he was just extraordinary the way he took to the aerial work in 2019. But David Moorst being David Moorst, 2025 comes, he wants to go back into rehearsal. He was there at 9 a.m. in the morning when you had to go from one place,
oh yes, because we had the circus aerial stuff in one place, and the actual rehearsal room in another place.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of a drive between.
Oh my God, jump on the tube. And he worked, and what is so incredible is how he can hold an audience, because he's wild and different and barges through the audience and spins on the trapeze. And then at the end, sitting alone and speaking, if these shadows, even now I will get goosebumps at that silent moment where the audience, who've just been walking around hand in hand and just, feeling like uplifted by the joy of so many people simply walking in a circle, but they've made a connection. And then David just lifted his, you can't hear a pin drop. People can hardly breathe as he finishes. You think no one's going to applaud. And then the roar.
Yeah.
The experience is extraordinary. And I hope it comes back again.
Oh, do you know, I think that's one of my, I loved Guys and Dolls, but Dream is my favourite. It's my secret. Dream is my favourite.
Yeah. And the love, particularly, I think this last season of Midsummer Night's Dream, I've had so many people like begging to get tickets, because, the immersive experience just got sold out.
Yeah.
And, for a lot of people, they can't afford the seats, but you can come and see a whole performance and be part of it for next to nothing. And forever, Nick has schools in. Forever, ever. There are so many invites for people to experience this. It's this whole place. I love it.
We love having you here.
Thank you.
I mean, gosh, your passion is amazing, and it's amazing hearing all this. And my final question feels a bit kind of like, oh gosh,
go on.
What if you weren't doing this? If this path hadn't happened, if you hadn't had those lessons, if you had walked out with those green shoes and gone, no, I can't, where do you think you'd be?
Well, weirdly, my first job was as a dance teacher, and I was in Manchester, and I used to go and help out at a school for upper class young children and play dance games with them, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I think I'd love to work with small children. At the time, it was quite hard because I guess these children, we would do, what did you do on your holiday? And they were talking about, well, we flew to, it's all I was just astonished.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, we're going to have a holiday and we're all going to go to the seaside. And the seaside's not that far away. Yeah. And we're all going to run down to the edge of the water and run back. And then we're going to pick up and I used to say, buckets and spades. And one of the children corrected me, it's buckets. I've never forgotten that. And I've never forgotten the sheer joy of playing with these children and then the sheer horror of my use. So anyone that knows me knows I avoid saying buckets because I can't say buckets. It never comes out as much as I can. However, without having to use that word, so not play that same dance game, I would love to teach small children to learn access to life, to rhythm, to numbers through dance.
And it's so important. We know that that's, that doesn't happen so much. Arts doesn't happen in schools.
No,
and as you say, people can't afford it.
No. They would have me and I would explain to them rights and lefts, where's our right, where's our left, how do we move to the right, all of these things that people think are instinct, they're not. They need helping along the way.
And it's about looking after your body as well.
Oh, yes.
Like I was fortunate. I danced when I was younger, and it means that my body, I understand it a lot better.
Yeah.
Or, I stretch,
Completely.
or I understand how it's, I can understand that better than...
And rhythm, skipping. Some children can't skip. They can't skip because they can't hear. It teaches with rhythm, sounds. There's so much numerically. And the fact that you have to join steps. So life isn't always words separated. It's how do you connect? It's a language. So
and memory, like learning, as you say, routines.
Absolutely.
And that memory skills and like that learning in a different way.
So that's where I would be, except we probably might not go to the seaside.
We wouldn't have I'm not going to be able to say it without saying buffet now. Love that. Well, it's been such a joy to talk to you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you. And that's it for this episode of the Bridge Theatre podcast. In fact, that's it for the series. And what a high to end with Dame Arlene Phillips. I loved that episode, and thank you so much, Arlene, for your time and sharing those stories. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to catch up with the rest of this series, all available wherever you get your podcasts, and also on the Bridge Theatre YouTube channel. Those include chats with actor David Moorst, Lily Dybel, Grant Olding, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us for this series. And until next time, goodbye.
If we shadows have offended, well, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here, whilst these visions did appear. And this weak and idle theme no more yielding, but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend, and as I am an honest puck, if we have unearned luck now to scape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long, else the puck a liar call. So, good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.